story encapsulates the movie Hidden Figures, Black Panther, Forrest Gump, and Captain America, all in one.
Wait,
This is
wait a
this
minute.
is
Wait
Bill's
a minute.
story.
You done forgot Men of Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yes, yes. That's true.
And, and,
That's
and you are
true.
100% correct, right? World class warrior, one of
Yeah,
one, right?
yeah.
Incredibly smart. Like, you're 100% correct. Good afternoon, folks. I'm Jake and I'm your friend. And today we got Rodney. We're going to talk about William Goins and this big book that's out that got released. The book, The First Black Navy SEAL, William Goins. I had the honor and the privilege
Yeah.
to and accept an award for the Navy Foundation for him back in October of last year, man. We're going to try to help everybody we can spreading the word of greatness on the Navy SEALs. Rodney, thank you for coming on today. It's your book. You had a chance to sit and talk with William, I'm sure at depth. Thank you for coming on, man. We get to talk about this wonderful book and hopefully we could sell a couple million copies for you.
Amen. Thank you. You got a passion for your work, and I appreciate that. And I want to also thank you about that award. It never dawned on me that you were the guy who took the award in his place because I got a message from one of a SEAL commander, Tom Hawkins, who actually co-authored the book, and said, "Hey, check up on Bill because he wasn't able to come into it, talk to him, talk to his wife. He wasn't doing so well." But I didn't know that you were the guy who actually accepted the award. How was that a ceremony, by the way? How did that go?
Well, so let me say this. First of all, I did not accept the award on his behalf. I simply was the
Okay.
guy that got to talk on
Okay.
stage with 25 African American SEALs and the Medal of Honor winner, right, from
Oh,
Dev Group. But I'm going to say this, it was the most empowering event that I've ever been to because I guarantee you in the history of the SEAL teams, there's never been, I think it was 26 was the total number, 26 African American SEALs standing in the
hmm,
same place. It was
see.
incredible, man. We shared stories, we took pictures on the steps. It was absolutely an incredible night. And then, the reason everybody was there was to get this award for William Goins. He was sick. He had had a medical emergency maybe 2, 3 weeks before. He wasn't able to come. The fact that I got to speak was very small in the grand scheme of things. I just represented the community, and I tried to do the best thing I could do. And I mean, I'm telling you, man, it was power. I was at a table, man. I was sitting at a table with, the third Black SEAL officer,
Mm.
and a dude I had never met, man. It was powerful. Like I can only put it in those words. It was an incredibly powerful day, and the
Wow.
fact that everybody showed up to honor William Goins was just absolutely amazing.
When I called his wife and she said, "Hey, you can visit him at the hospital," and in my mind, I thought right away, he was skydiving. He was skydiving in his sleep because he had told me these stories. SEAL Team Two. These guys, I guess, were the lab rats for before Halo jumping. Uh, Bill got an award for skydiving, and he would take the pilots and say, "Hey, take us higher," and they would jump from 30,000 feet, which was unheard of during this time.
Oh yeah,
And in
yeah.
free, I mean, what's the standard today? I don't know, but I don't think you jump around commercial airline lanes at 30,000 feet.
I
Maybe
can't talk
okay.
about that, but yeah. But back then, I mean, they were jumping round parachutes. They didn't even have foil parachutes yet, right? So
Interesting.
they were jumping rounds from super high up, limited mobility, limited
Yeah,
travel. But yeah,
yeah.
he was at the front of that, man. Like, I mean, shoot, he's the first Black Navy SEAL, came out of UDTs, was one of the 40 plank owners, just a
Yep.
banger, man. And then, he spent his whole career there, spent a long
Yeah.
time there.
Yeah.
And, he was a
And
big advocate for the community, which was awesome.
To a ship.
Retired Navy Master Chief Bill Goins is on a new mission, encouraging students of color to consider becoming Navy SEALs.
The training is excellent. It takes about a year.
I see in his story, it was such a transitional time in the culture in our history. And Bill, he sees this movie when he's in high school about frogmen, Navy frogmen. He always
Right.
said it was run silent, run deep, but I don't. That's not the one. I looked at the one. It's with Richard Widmark, and he sees this film and says, "That's what I'm going to do." Now, this is 1950 something. There aren't any African Americans in that film, and you've got a culture around you which pretty much relegates African Americans during this time to being stewards in the Navy.
Cooks.
And
That's
he's
all they did.
yeah, and that was his friend was saying you ought to try the Army because in the Navy you're going to be doing this, and they tried to dissuade him from going to the Navy. He said, "No, I'm going to be a frogman," and he was single-minded about it, and that's what I like about him. And he's kind of like me in a certain respect. I kind of relate well to him. We connected because I could see his understanding and his resolve. And he goes through some ups and downs and some disappointments, but he finally becomes an outstanding UDT under UDT, I think UDT 21 class. But he becomes outstanding. Becomes outstanding. And I look at as a teacher today, I look at the kids I teach in U.S. history, and I look at all the role models that I mean they grab onto, and some yeah they're very worthy. Stories like Bill's need to be told, particularly to the young African American man. But he's a trailblazer in the sense that he knows what he wants. He's not going to let anybody get in his way. He doesn't have any examples before him to give him any kind of self-confidence, but he's confident in knowing what he wants. And he is forthright throughout his life in that. And there's something that needs to be said about that. I mean, he's such an unsung hero. I thought, his story encapsulates the movie Hidden Figures, Black Panther, Forrest Gump, and Captain America, all in one.
Wait,
This is
wait a minute.
this is
Wait
Bill's
a minute.
story.
You done forgot Men of Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yes, yes. That's true.
And, and,
That's
and you are
true.
100% correct, right? World-class warrior, one of
Yeah,
one, right?
yeah,
Incredibly smart. Like, you're 100% correct. Capsulates like 6 movies. And Caps are
yeah,
like, oh, how's that possible? I'm like, look, go look at this dude's career. Go look at
yeah.
this career, right? So
So if there are any
phenomenal.
producers out there, look at this book because I'm telling you, it's a trailblazing book. He did actually over 100 missions in Vietnam without even getting shot. Now, this is the interesting thing because his Combat V Award tells the story. And this is really the story. This man, he has 3 tours of Vietnam. He goes first as an advisor, which is a non-combatant advisor. Then he goes back as a point man and with the Mekong Delta, and he really knows his terrain, and he's successful there with a lot of successful missions. And then they take him back as a provisional reconnaissance unit advisor, and slash he's working closely with the CIA.
Yep.
Uh, and I know this is kind of why he was, a little bit hesitant to share some of the stories there. Had to drag some things out of him. But the interesting thing is they make him a leader of 100 mountain yard people. These are the guys, these are the social outcasts, really, in Vietnam. They're the darker skinned Vietnamese. They're not respected. They live, at the level of natives with blowguns and the bows and arrows, poison darts. I mean, that's how they live. And sometimes vitamin deficiency is an issue with them. But he has to take these guys, 100 of these men, and turn them into a commando unit force.
Oh, yeah. He was
And
Mac V. Sog. He was Mac V. Sog all day, all night, right? Like, and that's the part a lot of people don't understand, man. Like, that Vietnam stuff was fly by the seat of their pants, incredible casualties, right? There was A teams in Mac V Sog or Mac V Sog teams that had 100% casualty rate, right?
wow,
Like he was in the real mess.
yeah. But the interesting thing was they gave an award. They recognized his unit as the most productive, the most there's 3 categories: most productive, most ah It's on his combat V award. It slips me, but out of all of that, to take a unit like a group of guys, 100 guys or so. He talked to me about the shooting unit, the shooting mission he took them on, but they come out of this as the most recognized unit and the most respected unit.
Yep.
And so there's a movie right there. And so you take this kid from Ohio, who's the African American kid, who's got this dream. It's a meritocracy system, and he proves himself. And then they take him. I don't know, to test him or whatever. But then they make him. And this is the
Rodney,
other thing.
Rodney, where did he grow up? Where did he learn how to swim? Where did he learn how to
That's right.
swim? In a
Yeah, he teach him.
creek.
Yeah, yeah,
Taught himself how to swim in a creek. So
yeah,
for all my guys out there talking about you got limitations, swimming pools, all this other stuff,
yeah,
first Black Navy SEAL learned how to swim in a creek because they were
yeah.
not allowed in the swimming pool.
That's right. That's right. And he had a buddy who had been drowned in that creek. I think he
Yep.
must have been around 9 years old or so, and I don't know how that affected him, but an underwater tree branch, a buddy got caught on that, and I know that affected him. But he taught himself how to swim. He taught. It's amazing. He used to be. They put a plow to him because when they moved to their grandparents' house, they had a farm area, but they didn't have any animals, and so they hooked up a plow to Bill, and he would plow that ground, probably walking 10 miles or so, but really getting in shape because he had to work like an ox, and he became as strong as an ox, working like an ox. But it's he talking with him. He, he was just very low key and very humble. And I have to think back in some of the tapes I had and listen to them again. I had to do that and think, how did he remain so humble? How did he remain? And he wanted to be low key. He said he didn't know that he was the first African American Navy SEAL, like till 1966. It never really occurred to him, but he was really enjoying doing what he was doing. And he used to run with Carl Brashear, the guy from Men of Honor, who really got a whole different experience as a Navy diver. Uh,
Man, listen,
person,
listen. I'm gonna say this. Carl Brashear was 15, no, 20 years ahead of, right? Like he came into the UDT in the 60s, correct? If I'm not mistaken with
yes,
the dates. Carl
yeah,
Brashear was like late 40s, early 50s. So he was about 10 years ahead of him. Okay.
yeah,
Carl Brashear was a trailblazer into the diving community. But I'm gonna say this: don't lessen the impact that everybody had on him because he experienced it all. Okay. He didn't miss anything, he just didn't deal with it, right? Like he didn't let it
interesting,
affect him. So
interesting.
because I'm gonna tell you right now, in the 60s and the 70s in the Navy, like you getting it. And just remember this: early on, no one even knew what a Navy SEAL was. They were
Hmm.
super top secret. So
Interesting. He did tell me about a couple of times down here in Virginia and Norfolk. There are clubs. He would go clubbing with his buddies, and they'd always say, "No, no, no, he can come in, but not you." I guess being their civvies, they didn't know what this group was, and there were some radical people during that time. I mean, even the SEALs. To me, the SEALs always seem to be they're just a little bit misfits and trailblazers in their own right, and they're going to be movers and shakers, and they're looking for things to change. I mean, that's my impression.
yeah,
And
yeah,
he had some buddies with him, and they would say, "Hey, let's go desegregate that place." And Bill would say, "No, no, no, I'm not doing that." But they would take him with them, and then Bill would come in and they say he can't come in here. And then the SEALs would say, if he can't come in here, we're going to turn this whole place out. And so that the owner would let him in, put him in a private room, treat him like a special guest, kind of give him his own food, but keep him segregated.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
but
yeah.
but so it's just interesting these times of how these SEALs were and how Bill was always in the middle of it. I mean, he was actually on the Bay of Pigs. He was the Bay of Pigs run before SEALs, right? And he said he was ready. He has M16. They were out there circulating, waiting to hit land. They had the landing lights or signal lights for some people that were going to receive them on the. But they call that off. But it seems like at every turn of when you turn the pages of history, at least as I teach history, I see the implications of Bill's contribution in so many different things.
Oh
Babe,
yeah,
Pig,
yeah, yeah.
and so on.
We all grew up on his shoulders, right? Like,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I am remiss in saying, I did not have a super successful career in the SEAL teams because I was not part of that group. I didn't even understand that there was a group of African Americans in Virginia Beach. Like, I was the only black officer on the East Coast for 3 years. Like, it was hard on me, right? And
Hmm.
I can't, I gotta say, I'm not Bill Goins, right? Like, I'm not a quiet dude. I'm not gonna go quietly by the night. Like, I'm not. Like, I'm gonna punch you in the face should you do some crazy shit, right? And I think the SEAL teams were a little bit different by this point, but um, I do what I do now as far as mentorship to the community because I don't want anybody to have my experience, right? I don't
Uh-huh.
want anybody to feel like they're on an island by themselves because a lot of
Interesting.
times you are, right? As an African American, as a Hispanic male in the SEAL teams, you might be 101 on your SEAL platoon, you might be 101 at your command, right? I just got a phone call from a young man. He's 101 at his command and he's struggling. And I
Hmm.
said, nope, like we're gonna take you in the fold. I'm gonna hook him up with two guys. There's actually a superstar dude that's in his field, and he's in Virginia Beach. And I hooked the two of them up as I was walking down here to shoot this Zoom with you, and we'll get him taken care of, man. Like, cause I
Hmm.
tell people, man, like what William Goines did in the 60s and the 70s in a community where he was the only one. Like, I can only imagine. Like, I've talked to Captain Green, who's the first Navy SEAL officer in 1971. I know what he experienced,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, commendable, man. I appreciate you wrote this book, man. I need to order it. It's on Amazon. Can I get it on Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. Yeah, you can get it
Okay.
that way.
I'm gonna buy this book. I do book review, man. I'll bang out a book review on it. So we can get William Goins a little bit more pub. Has since passed.
Yeah.
Um, it's just I know they took the award down to him on Friday. We got it on a Thursday, I believe. Or
Hmm.
yeah, I think it was No, maybe it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday. And they drove it down. A bunch of frogmen drove it down to him on Wednesday and presented him with it. So
Hmm.
I mean, we
Okay.
tell the past and no one will.